Yes, welcome to Mindful Life 61. It is the 31st of March, the last day of March already, in the year of our Lord, 2022. Yes. What day is today? Today is Thursday. Yes, Thursday. You know, the days kind of just blur together sometimes. But yes, Thursday the 31st of March. Welcome to Mindful Live number 61. I am Nathan Springer. Nice to have you here. I saw a comment there, and I'm grateful for you all for answering the obvious. And what we're talking about today, at least what we're beginning talking about today, has to do with what the Guyanese vice president said about Trinidad and Tobago. Now, this is not the first video I've made on it. This is not the first thing I've said on it. If you may think I am very upset about it, but to be honest, I really am not. But I just find it very interesting in the way we look at each other and in the way we look at our economies. And then I also find it an interesting peek into how people see their own country sometimes, depending on if their political side has favor in leadership at the given moment and how they are leaning in or out of that. But the general idea of the Guyanese vice president's statement about Trinidad and Tobago, in case you didn't know, he spoke of Trinidad and Tobago falling apart, and not being able to see the light of day and having large unemployment and people are suffering, you know, the whole general idea. But the context of him speaking about this was in the context of watching us in terms of what do you do with the wealth you gain from your oil and gas resources. And this is very important to Guyana because they just found oil and gas resources. Now, here's the thing, in that context, I could understand the general idea they're talking about. You're looking around and you're looking to see who walked down this road that I'm going to walk down right now. That's sensible. You look at someone who already went where you want to go now, and you see how they did it, and you see the end, and you see what they did and where they got, and you decide, is that really what I want? I think that is such wise advice that some people just miss sometimes. Like, time will tell, the ever famous thing, time will tell. And I think that's true. It's just that a lot of us look at time on a very short scale. You need to look at things through. So someone who is giving you a particular advice to go down a particular road, look at that person and see their life. Look at a human life. The average life expectancy is what, 70 something years now maybe, and look at their life going down to the end there and see if is that the way I want my life? So that's what Guyana is doing, or was doing, at least what the vice president was attempting to do, I'd suppose. And he was pointing at Trinidad as saying, no, we don't want to be like that. And to be honest, it's understandable. It really is, because if I were another country and I just found oil and gas and I'm looking at a model of how to spend it for the first 60 years, and I look at Trinidad in their first 60 years of oil and gas resources, I'd say yeah, but no, nah. And it's not for 60 years. Trinidad is about, what, 100 years into oil and gas resources? So yeah, no. I understand. However, the falling apart part doesn't speak necessarily to just about diversification. That doesn't necessarily speak only about diversification. And that's the part that's pretty much plainly insulting, and I already spoke about that. I don't like that bit, and I saw several people wrote some editorials, etc., speaking about that and comparing the metrics when we're talking about falling apart. And that's something I regularly tell anyone that's talking about this, to really go and compare the metrics. It's not really comparable. I know if you don't like the PNM or Mr. Rowley, you might really want Trinidad to be in a horrible place, and we are not in as good a place as we could or should be, granted. But really, I mean, you live Trinidad and you're not going to move to Guyana. Come on, let's be honest about this. So yeah, when we're talking about the falling apart bit, but that's another side. When it comes to the advice on which road to take, understandable, makes sense. That's smart of you, Guyana. You don't want to go down that Trinidadian, that corruption road where every single thing inside of the Trinidadian industries, anytime it has to do with anything to do with state enterprises, the costs balloon out of control. No one knows how all of these contracts always cost so much money. And that's how a lot of people gain their wealth. That's where a lot of our oil resources went, into ballooning contracts, into overpriced deals under the guise of something being honest. And yes, we need this, and yes, we need that, and we're doing this for the good of the common man. And yes, we have to go out there and search for this. And yes. And somebody is scraping off a lot of the cream of the crop by doing that. So I agree with that advice, Guyana. But here's the thing. I don't think that advice is necessarily as easy to just take as some people might think. Because there's this strange thing called human nature. This strange thing called human nature. And how do you deal with human nature when it comes to things like this? If the human nature is that corruption, how do you deal with it? And in Guyana's case, I remember coming down to the end of one of my other lives speaking about this. I spoke about a verse in the good book, the Bible, that I believe it's a proverb that says, "Let not he that puts on his armor speak as he that taketh it off." So if you're now going into the battle, be careful how you criticize someone who has already been through the battle and is now taking off their armor. So, granted, Trinidad may not be in the best of places, but granted, we've been doing this for quite some time now, and we have seen some progress. We'll see when you have been doing it for some time now, how your progress goes. How would the temptation of quick and easy cash money work with your politicians and your ruling class over in Guyana? And here's the thing. If it feels like I've been building up towards something, well, I have. Because there are already some massive allegations of corruption coming out of Guyana. Here's the story. Minister Barrett mum on US 9 billion PR audit. And this is US dollars. This isn't Guyanese dollars here. This is US 9 with a B billion dollars PR audit. Now, this is the Culture News Online paper. If you're watching me over on YouTube, you would be able to see the article behind me, and that's, as usual, an advertisement to go over there and subscribe to my channel. You can take it in on repeat whenever you like, etc., etc., etc. But if you're looking at it, you'd see that their spacing isn't most welcoming. Thank you, Kervon, for putting that in the chat there to make it visual. Thank you. Let me flash over on the YouTube there. Let me flash over to make sure they see that in the chat. Look at the zeros. Look at the zeros, and those. That's not, the Vice President Barrett spoke about the insults that many people threw Guyana's way for quite some time now in the Caribbean. And true, there have been insults, for example, about Guyana's money. And in this case, these aren't Guyanese dollars. This is US dollars, 9 billion. All right. That's an audit that they are asking about. Here's the thing. The article, as I was saying, is a bit of text block. It isn't the most conducive to reading, but it's a lot of information. Despite time running out on Guyana, I'm not going to read the entire thing. Don't get scared. Despite time running out on Guyana to conduct the audit into ExxonMobil Corporation subsidiary, Esso Exploration and Production Guyana Limited, EEPGL, US 9 billion PR exploration cost bill, Minister of Natural Resources Vikram Barrett is silent on the government's progress of auditing and possibly rejecting unreasonable charges if found, notably in the 2-year deadline as prescribed in the Starbrook Block Agreement. Wow. That's a kind of tongue twister. Passes and Guyana fails to audit ExxonMobil subsidiary cost recovery bill. The country has no choice but to allow the oil company to recover US $9 billion for its PR development project in the Starbrook block without making any objection. So let me break that down a little bit. If it seems confusing, what on earth is this all about? So Let me see if I can get that spot in the article where they speak about this. Before Guyana even found the oil and gas, they had a lot of investment in the country going on in terms of looking for said oil and gas. Anyone in and around the oil and gas industry know that you don't just magically go on a Monday morning and by Monday afternoon you find that money. So Guyana had several $1 billion invested by these foreign companies into their country in this pre-gas time to try and explore and find this gas. Now, here's the thing. These companies are not Petrotrin or Wassa or Tiantec or state-owned companies. This is ExxonMobil. You know, they're talking cash. They're the capitalists that, you know, you're kind of worried about in some cases. Yeah, these are these guys. Those corporations. They're talking money. So after they spent a lot of money in doing all of this pre-groundwork, now they're going back through the books, I suppose, and making sure that they weren't overcharged. And it just so happens, surprise, surprise, they were. And several audits were ordered already. Several of them were defaulted on. And the company already hopsed up some money from Guyana for not doing the audits. You see, here's the thing. If you don't do the audit to figure out if the company really spent correct money on this entire thing, then they can take the money because you defaulted on it. You basically said, okay, well, we're not doing the audit, so take it as you see fit. And that's currently the position that is being there. That they are in right now. Let me see if I find that specific spot. All right. Minister Barrett had disclosed to the National Assembly that under the previous regime, limited work was done on the audit of the pre-contract costs incurred from 1999 to 2017. The minister had described the extent of the work done as alarming, while noting that efforts are currently underway to iron out some of the questionable details uncovered with ExxonMobil. So, corruption galore. And here's the thing, as with Trinidad and Tobago also, the previous Guyanese government, which, I mean, if you're trying to put it into the Trinidad and Tobago context, it would not fit exactly. They aren't exactly the same. Neither of both are the same. But the previous Guyanese government, if you're looking on the racial divide in Guyana, which, if we are being honest, and I like to be honest, there's that racial divide in both Guyana and Trinidad. The previous government, which was more Afro-oriented, I guess, they were ordered to do the audit. They did not. But here's the thing. The current government is also dragging their feet on it. You see, it's not... Tell me if you've heard this before. The corruption issues are not really partisan. They happen regardless of which government is in power. It's a political problem. A problem with a corrupt political class. And regardless of your good wishes and looking at Trinidad as such a horrible place, if your country has not actually put things in place to stop these things from happening, this $9 billion that ExxonMobil US, $9 billion US, scroll back through the chat and look for the comment and see how many zeros those are. That's going to keep happening. If that was happening before they even found the oil, they didn't even know they had the oil there for sure yet. They done thieving. What do you think is going to happen now that they do have the oil? Do you think that in that whole corrupt mire that they are in there apparently, very similar to Trinidad to be fair, do you think that as soon as the oil is found now, all those corrupt entities are just going to... I'd fully agree with that statement also, Kuvon. I do have some knowledge of Guyana, as I said before. But yes, do you think that corruption is going to disappear? Do you think now that they have these resources, all of a sudden the people who can make quick money are really going to care about all the other Guyanese people and are not going to do corrupt things that put them in danger? Really? do you think that's going to happen now? I don't. And here's the thing. We could look already and see how some of this is turning out. So I spoke recently, relatively recently, in one of these lives about one of Guyana's bills that they passed to attempt to make sure that their local people get their cut of their own resource cake. They want to make sure that the locals get to eat some of the food too. Because here's the thing, the nature of the oil and gas industry is that a lot of the work that is required, does make a lot of money, to be fair, it does make a lot of money, but a lot of it requires a lot of initial investment. So if you do not have that initial investment, it's actually much easier for a multinational or a foreign company that already has all of those things going for them. In Guyana's case, many Trinidadian companies have that. It's much easier for those companies to just go in there and take it before you could take the 50 years it would take you to build up those companies. If you go through the Point Lisas estate and all those feeder districts that have all those contracting companies, you see, like, I was reading an editorial in the Guardian, I believe that editorial was. And we just want to help. Funny, Rooney, funny. It's like the wolves telling the injured sheep, come, we'll bandage that cut for you. We just want to help. But yes, as I was reading in an editorial over in the Guardian, someone was pointing out that as the Guyanese vice president did indeed point out, we do lean heavily on the energy sector, but it's not necessarily just oil and gas, because what we have done in Trinidad and Tobago is we actually have a pretty wide downstream industry. Lots of private contractors out there, lots of very wealthy private contractors that work in and around the industry. So yes, granted, it's nearly all based on the oil and gas industry, but it's not literally in that kind of primary realm where Guyana is now entering. They aren't yet at the level where we are, where there's so much value added industries already there. And here's the thing. We are the neighbors to Guyana. That is actually what Guyana is afraid of. They're afraid that the contractors, the private businessmen over here who have access to a lot more capital, a lot more experience, how many times drive through Point Lisas and those environs or look at their advertisements, and you'd so regularly see 60 years of experience in the industry, 50 years of experience in the industry, etc., 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 etc. All those things have value. Now, look at this. Even the incident with the divers. That was a private contractor. Now, about how effective everything was in it, we know that's up for investigation still, but it's still a private contractor. That's Trinidad with our own submarine welding private contracting business. Not a government business. They could feel free to head over there to Guyana and look for some business. And that's what Guyana is afraid of. With someone who has 60 years experience in the industry coming over and just hopping up all the businesses. So, yes, I know that for a fact too, Speedstream TT. So, they passed a law to try to stop that from happening, to try to curb that. But here's the thing. When corruption is at your door, the law just does not do the job. The law just does not do the job. I know a few people in and around the industry, and quite a few of them are all of a sudden making trips to and from Guyana. But look at this. Foreigners using locals to get around local content regulations. Listen, and nowhere in the article, I think, they spoke about Trinidad directly. But I am almost sure when they're talking foreigners here, very likely Trinidadians, that foreigners is probably a synonym for Trinidadians. Because if we are already known for some of our less glorious Trinidadian ways, you know, that kind of, down that road, we are known for some of that. Now, to be fair to us, we aren't known like the Jamaicans and Nigerians for that level of cunning. You see, like we are more amiable, amicable. We are more friendly than that. We aren't that kind of thing, you know. The tricky Trinidadian may get in close and personal and con you up close and personal. It's a much different thing than the over the phone call business. So if that's already some of the nature of some Trinidadians, and we already know that Guyana has already shown that they are susceptible to that oil and gas corruption, seeing that 9 billion is up for grabs right now in the air, ExxonMobil wondering why you stole all this money from us. Yes, way more than that. Way more than just them. A lot of even these smaller contractors are already there. A lot of them are already there. Now, what do you think is going to happen? Just the same thing when you have these two corrupt entities bouncing up. You could pass whatever law you want, they'd find a way around it. Foreigners using locals to get around local content regulations. Less than a month after the Ministry of Natural Resources opened the local content register for Guyanese owned companies to benefit from the oil and gas sector, foreigners are already finding ways to manipulate and undermine the system. This was highlighted by private sector executive Ramesh Duku on Tuesday, while he was addressing a gathering at a luncheon hosted by the Guyana Manufacturing and Services Association on Tuesday. Duku noted that some foreign companies have begun manipulating systems put in place to ensure Guyanese benefit from oil proceeds under the new Local Content Act. Already we're seeing foreign companies making their staff members shareholders in the company and doing all things, manipulative things, to qualify for the Local Content Register, Duku said. He noted that the authority given to the Local Content Secretariat has to be deeper. It has to be associated with the Companies Act of Guyana, and they must have more authority to investigate companies, Duku added. Now, I understand from his perspective. I understand from his perspective why he would be lamenting about this. But I could speak. If you were listening from the beginning, I could speak as the proverb said. Being in a land where we have had on this oil armor for quite some time, it could seem sometimes like we're ready to take off this oil armor. You all are now putting it on. Let me speak to you about how this battle in oil armor works. The more laws you pass, that's not going to stop it, see. I am sorry, Mr. Ramesh Duku, over in Guyana. You can pass laws till your law books fill up every government building you have, and that won't stop the corruption. It's not the laws. If you give more power to the Local Content Secretariat, but the Local Content Secretariat is corrupt, then all this power is going to do is give them a better ability to do their corrupt undertakings. It's about the corruption, not the laws. There's just no way. There isn't this complex scheme of laws that you can think of, that if you pass these correct scheme of laws, they would encompass every possible wrong that someone in society could do, and society would then be perfect. I believe killing is illegal, and I am reasonably certain more than one person was killed in Trinidad today. Surprise. Illegal, yet people do it. So I'm sorry, Mr. Duku, more laws are not what you're looking for. Duku further speaking to Kaicher News after the event, Duku noted that over past weeks, the issue was brought to his attention. There are about 3 or 4 complaints about companies that are already on the register. What I think is needed is for the Secretariat to properly investigate companies not in compliance with the law. Duku noted as he pointed to various practices which he said are used by foreign businesses to skirt Guyana's local content provisions. In keeping with the new stipulations occasioned by the local content law, the government of Guyana last February launched a register for local businesses and professionals to advertise their goods and services. The new local content law provides for the establishment of a local content secretariat that will develop and maintain local content, etc., etc., etc. Several key industries. Let me read a brief thing of the industries there. Guyanese companies by the end of 2022, 90% of office space rental and accommodation services must be Guyanese. 90% of janitorial services, laundry and catering services. 95% of pest control services. 100% local insurance services. Tough luck, Tatil. 75% local supply of food and 90% sorry over there on YouTube, I hit the mic, and 90% local accounting services. Okay, here's something strange I found over there. The trainee or expert still needs to go to be the supervisor. That's the brutal reality. That's just the brutal reality about those kind of things. That's how it goes. Something I find strange with all of this, right? Why only 75% local supply of food? Guyana almost always boasts that they're able to be the breadbasket of the Caribbean. That's a regular boast from Guyana. And why not 100% supplying of local food over in Guyana there? I just found that strange. 75%. Like, I would have thought that percentage would have been higher for some reason. I don't know. But with that same food, on that food topic, there was a bit of a slight hullabaloo recently. I am in the Trini Farmers group over on Facebook. I like that group. I don't know how many of you are in that group. I like the group. I like, you know, sometimes when you see somebody post a little garden and all the comments and stuff, and you read that and like, nice. It feels community-ish sometimes. So yeah, I'm in that group. And I saw they posted an article from one of the Guyanese newspapers where it spoke of our local TTME when they went over to Guyana and they were requesting importing food from Guyana. T&T manufacturers say they want to import produce from Guyana. But non-tariff barriers, in the way Trinidadian manufacturers yesterday lamented, the non-tariff barriers were hampering imports of agricultural produce from Guyana and called on the political directorate to clear the hurdles. Our import is 36 billion and Guyana is professing it can feed the entire region. There's also Belize and Suriname. They have the land mass to do it. Why can't we source the tomatoes from Guyana to make the tomato paste? It is not the private sector in Trinidad. It's not that the private sector in Trinidad don't want it to come to Trinidad. The political directorate needs to get these things right. Chief Executive Officer of the Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association, Dr. Mahindra Ramdeen, said yesterday during a Welcome to Guyana session at the Ramada Princess Hotel. And several people were upset about this. Why would the TTMA go over to Guyana and request importing food from Guyana while there are so many local farmers? You can get this produce from local farmers. Well, here's the reality. Not really. If you're talking manufacturers, if you're talking that level, the amount and consistency you really need that kind of extensive farming. And Trinidad just may not have the landmass to do that for certain produce. Some might not. But some may not. Many may not. And to be fair to the CEO of TTMA, this is something that he has actually been saying for a long time now. I believe it was a contemplation I did last year, I spoke to him about similar issues, and he said the very same thing, that the Manufacturers Association in Trinidad and Tobago, and I made an entire contemplation on this, wants to be able to import from Guyana. But there are issues that the political class have to solve. Issues such as certain qualifications that they put on certain things that prohibit the produce from Guyana from being able to enter because they deem it as not being of up to a certain quality, etc., etc. And the people who need to give these qualifications, I believe, are Kariri or some one of these companies, and then it has to go through this ministry and that ministry, and they're just not doing it, so they can't import from Guyana. And here's the thing, it's not like they're using local right now. They're still importing right now. They just can't import from Guyana, so they have to import from somewhere much further away. So what they have been lobbying for is to be able to import from Guyana. To see how long this man has been saying this very same thing, I saw an article since October in 2014, Guyana should be Caribbean's breadbasket, TT manufacturer. In efforts to strengthen relations among CARICOM countries, Guyana and Trinidad and Tobago have been urged to take advantage of the market opportunities available in the two countries. This was the collective call by officials from Trinidad and Guyana as the Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association again held a seminar aimed at strengthening and forging new bilateral relations between two countries. According to TTMA Chief Executive Officer, same guy, Ramesh Ramdeen, Guyana has a significant amount of goods that can be sold to TT, notably food produce. The man has been saying this for at least 8 years. 8 years. 8 years. Tobago should be Trinidad and Tobago breadbasket. Tobago is not sufficient to be. Tobago can't even be Tobago's breadbasket. Come down from there, Miss Rudy. Come down. You went up too high up in there. But yes, he's been saying this for quite some time now. And to be fair to the TTMA, I saw a post on Facebook this very week, someone speaking about their ability now to export their cassava produce and their sweet potato fries, etc., and directly thanking the TTMA and their same CEO for providing these opportunities. So it's not like they don't support local, but they're looking at this on a much larger scale. And on the scale they're looking at, the benefit is there for Trinidad. We would be able to have access. We would be able to have access to this massive landmass that could produce a lot more food and therefore be able to lower our food bill. And then we have the expertise and the capital and the innovation here. Not saying Guyana doesn't have innovation, but they aren't yet up to where we are to have some of these manufacturers here. For example, the tomato paste he's speaking about is ketchup. We make ketchup here. So we could have been buying that tomato from down Guyana, ship it across to Trinidad and make the ketchup here. We buy Guyanese tomato. Guyana is happy. They make money. People buy Trinidad ketchup made from Guyana tomato. Trinidadians are happy because we make the money off of the ketchup too. It's insane that we cannot maximize this. And some of it, I could understand the vexation some Guyanese have with it, because some of it does seem purposefully cruel. For example, there's one that Guyana is particularly peeved about is a honey ban that we have on any imported honey even touching our shores. So Guyana uses Trinidad as a transshipment point for nearly all of their produce, but they can't even use Trinidad as a transshipment point for their honey. That seems nearly evil. Like, why are you doing that? That's cruel and unnecessary. And it makes you wonder, who are these things there to protect? Like, what's the real intent of some of these things? Like, why not make it easier for manufacturers to be able to do a manufacturer's job in Trinidad and Tobago? Why? Like, I just don't know. It's beyond me. Why? Facts. A lot of people from Guyana are not ready for the industrial life that we are accustomed to. They expect to get the jobs in the industry and not have to work much. Well, it comes with time. If I had to name this life, it's armor. It's oil armor we're talking about. They're now putting on that oil armor. They're now going out into that oil battlefield to see how that would all work out. And we have seen it here for quite some time. And we know it's not necessarily that simple. It's not necessarily that simple. The industry is not just a snap your finger and it works like that for you. So while I understand the Guyanese vice president's worry in not wanting to turn out into the corrupt side of Trinidad and Tobago, I understand that. And you are right. There is that corrupt side in Trinidad and Tobago. But yeah, if it's already showing that corruption, how are you going to escape it? In my work, you'll not leave the company when they see the workload. Tough. They're getting into oil when the world is trying to move away from it. Here's the key. The world is trying to. That doesn't mean that they would anytime soon. That does not mean that they would anytime. Hey, Speedstream. Well, I know who you are now for sure. But yeah, they're trying to move away from it, but that doesn't mean necessarily that they would actually move away from it. The nearly everything so far, even the attempts to move away from oil and gas requires oil and gas. All these wind turbines, etc., to get it requires oil and gas. To get the batteries to work for every rechargeable unit of everything you have to use oil and gas to go harvest those batteries. It's just difficult. It's just difficult. So I don't see, like, people keep talking about in the next 2, 3, 4, how much ever. I don't see it happening anytime soon. I don't see it happening anytime soon. All right. That's all I have for now. I thank you for tuning in. I love sci-fi. I would love to find the lithium. I would love to find the lithium crystals and replicate. Yeah, I think oil and gas is more here to stay. I'd agree with that sentiment more. Yes, as I was saying, it was nice being here. That's all I have for tonight. It's going to be a short night tonight. It's going to be a short night. Mans must rest occasionally. Even I must rest. I mean, God himself rested, so one needs rest at some point in time. So yeah, it was nice. As per usual, if you're now tuning in and you're like, no, I missed it. Well, you didn't actually. You could go over back on YouTube, Nathan Spring, and be sure to subscribe. And you can look there and catch up on all the other Mindful Lives if you missed any before. And you can see even this one again. Well, not all the Mindful Lives. I believe like 2 are missing there. Tough, but I think there's more than enough to pick up your time if you'd so be interested. But until then, I will see you hopefully tomorrow. Tomorrow is actually not very sure for me. I'll see how it all goes. If tomorrow works out fine, then I'll see you tomorrow at 9:30. If not, I will see you Monday. Peace. Bro, your topics are very interesting and informative. Thank you, sir. I try for them to be. I am interested in them and I like information. So I guess that's the way they turn out too. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained.